Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for our final installment of our video PowerPoint series for Unit 7, Genetics and Heredity. So today, what we're going to be talking about primarily are genetic disorders. So today we're going to be talking about specific genetic disorders and what their potential causes are. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing started. I'll see you on the next slide. So, we all know that meiosis is the creation of our gametes, or our sex cells. Now, the question here is, what would happen, do you think, if something goes wrong during meiosis? So as you can see here, we have metaphase 1, where our homologous pairs are lining up, and then during anaphase, it looks like 3 pairs went to the top, and we only got 1 on the bottom. Now, what do you think that's going to cause? So what would happen if our homologous pairs failed to separate during anaphase 1? Well, to be quite frank, we'd get an uh-oh. And uh-ohs are, well, not a good thing. So let's talk about some specific examples of what might happen. What we call this is non-disjunction. So this is when our homologous chromosomes fail to separate during anaphase 1 of meiosis. So some cells either have extra chromosomes while others are missing some. So as you saw in the last slide, instead of having 2 on each side, we had 3 on one side and only 1 on the other. So we had one cell that'll have too many and one cell that'll have too few. So like we said, this can cause a serious problem. Specifically, one of the first disorders we're going to talk about today is Down syndrome, also known as trisomy 21. So trisomy means we have 3 copies, and 21 is we have 3 copies of chromosome 21. So some of the side effects that are associated with Down syndrome are specific facial appearances, and the individual might be a little bit slow. We also have a syndrome called Klinefelter syndrome, also known as XXY. So we know that XX results in a female, whereas XY results in a male. But what if we have 2 X's and a Y? So this is the XXY condition. This occurs mainly from non-disjunction in the mother. So instead of the mother giving 1 X chromosome, she accidentally gives 2. This results in abnormally tall males that are sterile, or nearly so, they can't reproduce. And they have many feminine-like traits. For example, sparse facial hair, somewhat enlarged breasts, very narrow shoulders, wider hips. And this can be treated with testosterone injections. So, to try and balance out the excess amounts of estrogen in the body, what will happen is they go ahead and inject the individual with testosterone, which is normally produced in the testes, the male hormone. The third one we're going to discuss today is called XYY. So XYY, this can only affect males. So XYY, as you can see here, we don't have 1, but we have 2 Y chromosomes. So once again, this is going to result in a male that's a little bit taller than the average bear. Normal development and sexual characteristics, so as far as development goes, not really too much different there. Some could be somewhat mentally impaired or challenged. Now, back in the day, they used to consider this that if you had the AXYY condition, you were predisposed to have criminal behavior. So XYY, this was also known as Superman syndrome. No, this does not mean that you could go ahead and pick up cars and throw them at people, or you were excessively strong, but considering you had an extra Y chromosome, you were considered to be a bit more macho, a bit more chauvinistic, a bit more you think you're invincible, always picking fights. However, now that's been scientifically discredited. The next one we're going to talk about here is called Turner syndrome, or XO. So XO is unique because there's only 1 chromosome, and that's an X. So these only occur with females. And as we said before, it's the inheritance of only 1 X chromosome, and that's it. So 98% of XO babies are miscarried. It's very rare for the child to actually survive. However, if they do, these result in short infertile females with no functional ovaries and reduced secondary sexual traits. And this can be treated but not cured with primarily hormone injections and surgery. So basically, what's kind of happening with Turner syndrome here is the individual perpetually looks like they're a child. I think there was a movie a while back. It was like The Orphan or something like that. It was actually a spoiler alert, but the main antagonist in that movie, the child that was killing everybody, actually had Turner syndrome. So she was an older woman, but she still looked like a child. So mitosis. We talked about mitosis a while back. So the question here is, when is mitosis a good thing? So primarily, mitosis is a great thing when we have to add or replace cells. So we're constantly going ahead and going through mitosis, replacing cells that are either damaged, need repaired, or just have lived to the end of their usefulness. So for things like growth and development. So as we see here, as you grow, you originally start off as a unicellular organism, one cell, and then gradually we go through mitosis until more and more body cells are created, eventually leading to, well, you. This can also be used in repair. Now what is that? Well, if you go ahead and look at this, what this actually is a starfish. So the starfish has this great ability that if it goes ahead and loses one part of its body, well, specifically like if it lost a limb here, and part of that limb was still connected to the main body, that limb will actually regrow into a brand new starfish. So replacement as well. So as we said before, we are constantly going through mitosis. For example, there's an expiration date on every one of our cells. So our blood cells get replaced just about every 7 days or so. So if we didn't do that, well, we'd have no way to carry oxygen to the rest of our body. And that could result in some pretty negative consequences. Now, when is mitosis a bad thing? So mitosis can be a bad thing when cells reproduce when they're not needed. So these cells can actually go ahead and take over organs, but they don't do the right job. So we're creating more and more copies of a cell that we don't have a use for. So they just keep going ahead and making more and more and more copies, and this is what we call cancer. So a tumor, primarily, is an abscess or an abnormal growth of cells. So this cancer can go ahead and damage organs. Primarily, for example, right here, this is a tumor developing in breast tissue. So over time, the tumor can gradually grow and start to hinder the correct function of the organ that it's in. So why would cells just make more and more copies without stopping? So if the DNA gets damaged, cells stop listening to the correct instructions. So it's kind of like if there's a glitch in the DNA, it doesn't give us the right stuff anymore. The instructions have been changed. So if the instructions are changed, this could have a wide variety of different effects. So mutations is primarily what we're talking about here. So the causes of certain mutations include things like UV radiation, chemical exposure, radiation exposure, excess heat, cigarette smoke, pollution, age, and even your own genetics. So there's a wide variety of different causes for mutation. Now, not all mutations could damage you, but if you do get one that does, it could do some serious damage. So, tumors. We have two primary types of tumors. The first type we're going to talk about is called a benign tumor. This is where the abnormal cells, or the growth, remains at the original site as a lump. So, for example, right here. So benign tumors, they can normally be surgically removed, and as long as you get them early enough, not too much damage. So most do not cause serious problems and can be removed via surgery. What you do have to worry about, however, is a malignant tumor. I'm sorry, I forgot to go ahead and turn off the sound for these animations. So with luck, we're almost at the end here, so it shouldn't be too bad. So a malignant tumor, the cancer cells can leave the original site and be carried by the blood system to other tissues. From there, they can start to cause more and more tumors. And this goes ahead and damages functions of organs throughout the entire body. So it's basically, instead of being restricted to one area, it can spread throughout the rest of the body and do a lot of damage. Now, when the tumor becomes malignant, there's not much you can do at this point. So treatment for cancer. Treatments go ahead and primarily are used by killing rapidly dividing cells. So these cells include things in your digestive system, your immune system, as well as your hair. Different methods for this include chemotherapy, which are poisonous drugs that kill rapidly dividing cells. Some side effects include hair loss, and there's also radiation. So radiation is using a high energy beam that goes ahead and kills the rapidly dividing cells. Now the problem with this is it affects both the cancerous cells and the cells that are good for your body. It kills off or damages any rapidly dividing cell inside your body. So this is why normally this makes individuals very sick, because it kills not only the good, it doesn't kill only the bad, but it also kills the good as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's just going to go ahead and finish us up for today. So, in summary, what we ended up talking about were genetic mutations and the various disorders that can occur from them. So we talked about things like Down syndrome or trisomy 21. We talked about Klinefelter syndrome. We talked about Turner syndrome. We talked about the XYY syndrome, as well as the major symptoms of those disorders. Now, we also talked about was non-disjunction. Now, non-disjunction is primarily when the chromosomes don't split up evenly. So we get one cell that has more or one cell that has less. And to finish up, we also talked about what happens when mitosis goes wrong. So we talked about tumors, we talked about cancer, and different treatment methods for those. Well, I'd like to thank you again for joining us for Unit 7 here, Genetics. This is going to close up shop for it. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. You all keep it classy.